So are sponge filters a good filter? A bad filter? What's the deal with sponge filters? Let's talk about that and some other stuff in just a moment. So this topic has been on my mind lately. I've done several filter reviews and you can check those out. Hang on the backs, canister filters, what have you. But I use a lot of sponge filters and I'm about to use them more or predominantly. So for instance, I'll try not to flip the camera around. This 40 breeder has a Eheim 2217, which is a classic. I do like those. They're probably my favorite canister filter next to the Fluval canister filters, which I also like. But I'm doing water changes today and I'm pretty tired, but I just spent an inordinate, a lot of time. I spent a lot of time. The flow was not right. So I cleaned the filter out. It's only been a month, and for me that's too frequently if I'm going to be using canister filters, but that wasn't the problem. And I cleaned out the intake, and then I cleaned out the hose, and that solved the problem. The point being, it's a kind of a pain in the butt when you got to do all that, and you've got several of them. I currently have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 canister filters running. So kind of a pain in the butt. I want to simplify my life, and I'm going to do that by using sponge filters. So one of the main reasons I want to get rid of the canister filter on this tank and other tanks, aside from electricity, and I should have taken a video before I vacuumed the substrate, but this substrate was completely covered in that Pleco's poo and a bunch of other stuff. And it has one of those Marineland Magna 360 canister filters. It's huge, but as you can see, after I think I cleaned it 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks ago, the flow shouldn't be that poor. It's really a mediocre canister filter. I can't bash it too much because it works and it holds a lot of media, but it's not the greatest canister filter. But the biggest thing about the whole thing is, and why I'm going to switch this over to just sponge filters, is it's not kicking up all of the debris and sucking it up. And that's really the only reason you would have it in here. This little circulation pump is tiny and doesn't do anything. And I only have it on a timer for a couple of times a day, but it doesn't do anything anyway. So I'm going to take it out. Could you put in 2 or 3 really powerful circulation pumps? Of course you could. I don't think the Pleco would care, but Goldilocks here, the Severum, would care. He's just being mopey because I'm doing a water change. So I'm just going to put sponge filters on. You know, at the end of the day, this canister filter is all right. But when it comes time to clean it, like obviously it needs serviced after about a month, which is, in my opinion, pretty awful because this thing weighs a ton and my back isn't getting any better. So I'm just going to get rid of it and put some another sponge filter in. There's one right there. I'm just going to add another bigger one over on this side, and that's going to be the end of that because I have to vacuum this tank once a week anyway. So I'll get rid of that canister filter and put in a nice sponge filter. So going along with the same theme, and I'm just going to make this brief, this tank has a sponge filter and this small canister filter, which is a Fluval 107. It's a good canister filter, but this tank probably doesn't need it, and I think I'm going to switch this one over to just sponge filters as well. Probably just that one medium, maybe another one. I'm going to think about it. And then likewise over here, this 40 breeder has a Eheim Classic on it. Love that canister filter, and but I don't think it needs it. So I'm just going to put 2 sponge filters in here, one on either side. And then up here, this 40 gallon also has a smaller Eheim canister filter. Again, love that canister filter. That one might stay. There is a sponge filter on the left side of this tank that I honestly never clean. So I have to either think about starting to clean that sponge filter on the left and adding one on the right, or just keeping the one on the left. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But anyway, moral of the story is we're going to use less canister filters and more sponge filters in the future. So to recap, why sponge filters? Well, I already use sponge filters quite a bit in the fish room for redundancy's sake, and in some tanks just as the primary filtration. They are effective, they are simple, and they're reliable. And they do a decent job of mechanical filtration and a wonderful job of biological filtration. The other thing is, and I've got several examples as I walk around here, there are coarse and fine sponge filters. If you don't want to clean them very often, don't use one like here in the beta tank. That's a fine sponge filter. It will need cleaned more often, as is the case with this small sponge filter. But there's also coarse sponge filters, primarily the one from Aquarium Co-op, like the one you see right here is the medium one. They don't require cleaning very often. In fact, it can be detrimental to clean them often. This is another fine sponge filter example. So, moral of the story is it's simple, it's cheap, it's low on your energy bill, and it's easy to maintain. I don't have to haul anything around. I just clean it out and it's done. So, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.